Okay, Ms. Nathiri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, beautiful. We're live at the class. We have it in our room. You'll see them periodically appear on the screen. We're having some internet difficulties for it. So if you want to get on the Zoom, I sent out the information for everybody. You want to get on Zoom here while we wait for this to come back up?
Yes, in other words, am I
She's
on
going to be
Zoom?
on here, so we'll be quiet. We should be able to hear it.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
So I'm on
Okay.
Zoom now, am I not?
Yes, you can hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So, see if you can see my class. Everything was working perfect, and all of a sudden, it didn't. You gotta love technology. Okay. So you should see the students in the class right now. There, some of them are getting on. I'll just ask everybody to mute your line.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Theory.
I'm here.
All right, so we're going to turn it over to you. As I mentioned to my class, we all had an opportunity to look at the video that was posted on CBS News, CBS Sunday, discussing Eatonville and the work that's currently happening. And this class is our Legacy of Booker T. Washington class. They've been learning about Booker T. Washington's educational philosophy, his interest in the development of Black communities, and that's what brought us to discussing Eatonville. And so when I saw what was happening in Eatonville, it was, I felt it was great to not have just a historical conversation, but also have a contemporary conversation about what's happening. So I said it'd be perfect to reach out to you and see if you could share some of your thoughts on the history of how Eatonville got started and through Dr. Washington's involvement, what's currently happening, and then what you feel is the charge for students and HBCUs specifically today as it relates to historic Black towns and settlements, and then specifically.
Right. Let me greet you all saying that I feel it's a privilege to be able to speak with you. Am I coming across all right? Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So the way that we can have this discussion, I think most effectively, is to say that we are living history. You, your students, we in Eatonville, we are living history directly related to the legacy of Dr. Booker T. Washington. I mean, you can't get more relevant than that. What Eatonville is historically is the poster community for Dr. Washington, for one of the, how would you say, representations of Dr. Washington's vision. Eatonville appeared in the New York Times in the early 1900s. Eatonville was identified and promoted as a utopian community representing what Negroes could do on their own if they had the ability to establish a community. I often say that, and I'm a third generation Eatonvillian. I just want to say that because I present in a certain way, but I am, really my hometown is Eatonville. I am steeped in Eatonville, and frankly, I am channeling my late mother who died a couple of years ago at 102. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is the real deal. And the real deal is this, that we have the ability in Eatonville today to prepare ourselves and our posterity for a prosperous community, even as today it is known as a low socioeconomic community. But because of the rich cultural, historical, and heritage resources, and because within the travel and tourism industry, there is a recognized niche industry in terms of cultural heritage tourism, which worldwide is a multi-billion, as in B, industry. And in the United States, representing places like, yes, I can see you, young man with the orange t-shirt. Yes, indeedy. As St. Augustine and Washington, D.C. and places like that, with the proper infrastructure development, we can really see this as a year-round destination. Furthermore, I'm assuming that everybody in this class has heard of Zora Neale Hurston. Is that true? Everybody is, and you probably have had to read Their Eyes Were Watching God, right? So what that means is that Eatonville is a literary destination. And for the last 34 years, our organization has presented the annual Zora Neale Hurston Festival of the Arts and Humanities, otherwise known as Zora Festival. So right now, if you were to go to zorafestival.org, you'd see a website. And even more, the parent, the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community, if you were to go to preserveeatonville.org, you would see who we are. In fact, we are now America's longest running arts and humanities festival, celebrating the cultural contributions of people of African ancestry throughout the diaspora. But Orange County Public School Board thought that it could roll over the town of Eatonville because from their perspective, Eatonville is just a little community of 2,500, you want to call us African Americans, however they want to say, and we're low socioeconomic, and they control the land, quote unquote, so they should be able to do anything that they want to with the land. But this is a quintessential example of what ignorance can do for you. Ignorance meaning the lack of knowledge, right? They didn't have a clue. They did not have a clue of the origins of Eatonville and how that plays out presently. Eatonville is established on 4 foundations: faith, family, education, and civic pride. And education is an essential element of this community. The Robert Hungerford Industrial and Normal School that was founded on the principles of Tuskegee Institute, that school is loved by the people of Eatonville. There's an emotional attachment. If any of you have ever had a school teacher that you loved, that was your favorite, that helped you to see what you could be, then think about that on a community basis, and that's Eatonville and the Hungerford School. Years ago, I had the opportunity to compile and edit a book called Zora Neale Hurston, A Woman in Her Community. And when I was doing the research, I kept wondering why you'd see these little boys on tractors in white shirts and ties. And that is because in the Booker T. Washington model, you went to school in the morning, but in the afternoon, you were responsible for your for, raising the chickens and the hogs. And in other words, it was a subsisting community. That is what the Hungerford School was. They lived in, it was a dormitory, it was a residential situation, a private residential situation. And if you saw an aerial view, and I would urge you to look, the Hungerford School campus was really quite something. In fact, the Hungerford School campus was larger than the town of Eatonville. All right. Only in the 1930s, my grandfather, who was a mayor, A.N. Johnson, Augustus Newsom Johnson, and then the headmaster of Hungerford, who was Captain Alonzo Hall, they actually came together so that the Hungerford School actually, what you would call, came in, I've forgotten they came together. In other words, the school, and there's a phrase, and I'm just having a mental lapse. The school was, I guess, accessioned or joined or incorporated into the town itself. All right. So again, Hungerford, Eatonville was like a poster town. Dr. Washington talked about it in terms of about business, the National Business League. Eatonville was really quite something. And as we talk about today, we brand what we would like to see happening in Eatonville. And I say we, because I am the executive director of the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. We see an Eatonville Renaissance. Now, I know that we have limited time, and I want to give you as much information as possible and allow you to have the opportunity to ask questions. But I also want to frame how you should think about the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. We are the crazies. In historic preservation, you think about historic preservation people are known to be the crazy people. Okay, we're the people who, that's right, we just say, this is appropriate, it needs to be done. And we're crazy right until people start seeing the dollars roll in and they get it. I want to give you an example in the last, say, probably 30, 40, maybe more than that. In Florida, aside from all the other stuff you're hearing about Florida today, it's called the Art Deco District in Miami Beach. The Art Deco District is now, it is responsible for I would say hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of economic development. But when the historic preservationists went up to Tallahassee to lobby for a historic district, the city commission for Miami Beach, they actually contested it. They opposed it. They did not want to see an Art Deco district in Miami Beach. That was then. Now everybody is, as happy as they can be about what has happened. So I gladly say that in Eatonville, the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community can be looked upon as the crazy people, even though over time people have seen that what we're able to do in terms of cultural heritage tourism. But I say that because it was our organization who filed a lawsuit against Orange County Public School Board. All right. And I'm going to use the correct language. I'm not going to do the radical jargon about what Orange County Public School Board is. All right. But I would say to you that because of the class that you're in, and perhaps if you're going into preservation or architecture or anything like that, if you look at what happened, what Columbia University did to Harlem, what any of these universities, in other words, this is what they do. They come in where they figure they can get the land, and they start taking, they have a presence that is really inappropriate for the community. It's good for the institution, but it's inappropriate for the community. But again, we have We have been in a fight to preserve, protect, and promote Eatonville since 1987. I've been with the organization long enough to actually remember what has happened. And so when I say to you that I have absolutely every confidence that that land is going to be transferred back to trust, I have every confidence of that because in 1987, it took us 5 years. It took us 5 years, but Orange County government, that's a different entity now, Orange County government wanted to 5-lane the 2-lane road that runs through Eatonville. All right. So since the 1970s, every decade, there has been an effort by some institution, either Orange County Public Schools, because they wanted to change the elementary school in Eatonville to a bus depot. Some of your parents or relatives will remember when they used to go to a very fine academic high school that was Black. But when the integration came systematically, these academic high schools were denigrated, demoted to become something else because, the main population had to protect their schools. We provide the bodies, but, they protect their schools. So in 1970s, that was pushed back. In the 1980s, it was about the road. In the 1990s, it was about adult entertainment. In 2023 or 22, it's about taking the land. That's an existential threat because if you take 100 acres of land out of Eatonville, you erase the community, right? But we can do this. We have every ability to do this because we know it has been done before. In recent history, if you are aware of the Bruces in California, that their land 100 years ago or more, the municipality, they had very nice resorts, beach land. And I don't know how much you have learned yet or really realized about what power can do. Power can do whatever it wishes to do, unless you push back. I will say public power, not private. Private, that's different, that's money. But the public, because we live in a democracy, and because about citizen engagement, you can do anything that is required as long as you stick to it and you are focused. Okay, so I say that as the example that the people in California, those African American, that family, that got their land back because after the covers were pulled off of what was happening, the injustice was so egregious that people just couldn't stand it. And that's the same way with us in Eatonville. How dare you say that you're going to take our land and make it into gentrification on steroids, all right, when we are an internationally known literary destination. You don't get better than Zora Neale Hurston. You don't get better than what is happening within the travel and tourism industry. Travel and tourism industry is one of the top 5 industries in the world. People love to travel. They spend money. All of this is documented. So you think that you're going to do that to us? As we say, not today. Not today, okay? So that's the story. That is the story. We are living history. We are the poster town, one of the poster towns, because there's Mount Bayou, Mississippi, and there's Grambling, Louisiana, and of course there's Tuskegee, Alabama. Eatonville, Florida is a part of that movement. And we are, in fact, one of the founders of the Historic Black Towns and Settlements Alliance that was incorporated in 2014, because all of these communities like Eatonville, like Mount Bayou, places that the population, if we do not organize and try to use our culture and heritage to our benefit, in a couple of generations, the communities will have disappeared. So my challenge to you as I talk to you today is this, and I'm going to speak now as a 20th century person. I don't know what it takes to take something viral, but I surely would like to see what is happening in Eatonville become viral. I didn't know how many of you were on social media and all of that, but I really would like to have someone within the sound of my voice be willing to look at the opportunity that this represents for people, especially young people of your generation, to understand exactly what you can do to help preserve, protect, and promote a national community like Eatonville, Florida. And I want to put this challenge to you, okay? If you do, I don't know what you have, do you do Starbucks? Do you do Wawa, whatever? In other words, if you buy a coffee 3 times a week, I'm asking you to take one of those coffees a month for 12 months, just one of them, and send that to us. That's $10, $5, whatever. Why is that important? And I say this because you're in a university and you have assignments, right? Well, we have an assignment. We have been told that we need to be able to establish our grassroots strength nationally. We need to have 1,000 people make a commitment for 12 months for a certain amount of money. And this is not even big money. This is grassroots money. This is like $5, $10, okay? We need to do that because if we can show that grassroots strength, then we are eligible for matching dollars from larger donors. So this is specifically about little pieces of money, not about $25, not about $50. This is about, a coffee one time a month for 12 months. That's number one. And then number two, and of course you can do this if you go to preserveeatonville.org. I guess I should have had, because I'm a technology idiot, I don't have the QR code with me, but I can certainly send it to Dr. Daniels and he can give it to you. Okay, so that, and then the other is, if there's anyone who is interested in joining what I call our social media army, so that we can consistently get the information out about Eatonville, because we really are a good news story. We are a good news story. We are people who can, in other words, this is no longer the kind of woe is what they've done to me recently. It's not the, only way that y'all can achieve anything is if you bounce a ball or if you rap. That's all, that's all you people are good for. You bounce a ball or you rap. Other than that, what can you expect? Other than that, the point is Dr. Booker T. Washington, Dr. George Washington Carver, all of that rich history, we can be whatever we wish to be, as long as we understand the value of economics. And before I turn this over for your questions and comments, I want to share with you a comment that one of my colleagues said, that her preacher told his congregation from the pulpit. And please keep this in mind, that if it's on your ASS, it is not an asset. Okay? It's not an asset if all you can do is wear it, drink it, drive it. Remember that. And if you have any relatives who are spending $300 and $400 for weave for their 6 and 7-year-old girls, talk with them as you can, respectfully, but $300 or $400 for weave. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. Thank you very much, Dr. Daniels, for this opportunity. I hope I haven't been too abrupt, too abrasive, but hey, what can I say?
Thank you. I think we figured out how to get our technology working over here. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to open up the floor to Mr. Jenkins with our first question.
Oh, should I just talk?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
As a leader in the community that resides in the state of Florida, what is your feelings on the ramped up attacks by lawmakers on African Americans and their history in this current time?
I want to be very specific and make a reference to what is happening with the Association for the Study of African American History and Life and History. I think that we have the ability, as long as you don't think that the government is the source of all of your opportunities. For example, Asala has identified what are called the Saturday classes. In other words, for generations, it has been Black families who've inspired and educated their children about history and heritage, all right? And so the state of Florida can do what the state of Florida is going to do. But within our communities, within our families, we have the ability to actually give this information. And I mention Asala because they have a structured way of doing this. In other words, Saturday class means that students come to a location and they get lessons. I want to make a reference to you. When I was a student, junior high school student, decades ago, and I was going to school in upstate New York. Every Tuesday and Thursday, the children who were Catholics left school at what was called the 8th period, and they went to get their training at the Catholic churches. There were two, I think there were two, but one was St. Peter's. In other words, this is not, it's not a new thing that families take responsibility to make sure that their history and culture, that their children have that. Now, yes, you do have to step up, somebody has to volunteer, there has to be a place, but my bottom line is you don't let the government determine what is possible for you, because that's not necessary. I hope that answer gives you a sort of glip into how I think.
Yes, it did.
With so many challenges, how did you guys stay motivated?
Say again, please.
You guys having so many challenges, like what kept y'all motivated?
What has kept the town motivated? Because there's been a history of civic pride. In other words, our organization is just the latest iteration of civic pride. People in Eatonville we will not allow ourselves to be rolled over. That really comes from the tradition of self-government. I mean, that really, and I want to say that some of my colleagues say NY, you make Eatonville sound like it's Brigadoon. No, Eatonville's not perfect, but the point is self-government actually means something. It means that you control, in this country, the government that has the most impact on you. The government that has the most impact on you? Anybody? Just call it out. Local government. Local government has the most control over our lives in the day-to-day. And so in Eatonville, we control the local government. And we've controlled the local government since 1887. All right. And so, in Eatonville, we do not play. Now, we're not going to, it may take 2 to 3 years. It just depends on how much pressure Orange County Public Schools feels. They've already been on CBS News Sunday morning. There's already been a follow-up. In the next couple of weeks, we expect to have a guest commentary in the New York Times, okay? We're not playing here. They are in the wrong. They are in the wrong. And what is even more instructive is the local newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel. The Orlando Sentinel has gotten out in front of the national media. We have been top of fold headline stories. We've had at least 2, maybe 3 editorials where the Sentinel is saying, give these people a chance. So it may take a couple, 3 years, but we will get that land back. Absolutely. Absolutely. In part because also the Southern Poverty Law Center, and I do want to acknowledge, we couldn't do this. We couldn't have done this by ourselves, but the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a national entity, after we approached them about the economic injustice, they have embraced this. So I want to make sure that I'm clear. With this kind of story, the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community could not have done this on its own because we don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity to get that kind of national coverage. Are you stretching or do you have a question? The fellow in the black t-shirt in the back row.
Okay, thank you.
All right, not you, the other, but yes, you have another comment?
Yes.
My question is, what do you feel like would be an effective way to generate wealth and maintain it within a community that might be poor or starting over due to generational damage? And
That
also,
I need to have that question said. I didn't understand.
Say it loud.
I said, what do you feel like would be an effective way to generate wealth and maintain it within a community that might be poor or starting over due to generational damage?
Dr. Daniels, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What do you think would be an effective way to maintain, to develop, basically what would be a good way to develop economic development with a community that has been impacted through damage, generational damage?
Yeah, I got you. Yes, now I understand. I think that you have to be very intentional about understanding the circumstances that have caused that impact, and then look to see models that can work. For example, take Detroit, because our organization has been embraced by a group in Detroit, and they talk about the systematic, how Detroit used to be, let's say 50 years ago, a thriving middle class African-American metropolis, and now the way it is now. So I don't want to give the impression that this is all easy peasy, as the kids say, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, it does. In other words, if it took a certain amount of time for the deterioration, but then you have to have a long view. Okay, what can we do in the next 5 years? What can we do? In other words, you really have to study. You literally have to study the problem to come up with solutions that work for you in your community. But I can say to you, on an individual basis, wherever you are, you want to be involved. All right. You do not want to be in a situation where, you're able to take your cruise, you've got your BMW, you've got your this and that, but you're not doing anything intentional to help the community, all right? Even if it's going to school and reading with a class. I mean, as a group, we must go back to help the people who are not as fortunate as we are. I would not be where I am today if people about the village, that's really the case. You want to do that. You have You have a great privilege. You're students, okay? You're students. And I hope that you realize that you have a privilege and that you will exploit that privilege to the maximum, that you will do all that you can do to take advantage of that privilege. Because if you don't, you really are committing a grave injustice.
Mr. Leader. Let's try it like this. Mr. Theory, I really want to thank you for speaking with our class. Does anybody else have any direct question they want to get out? Well, I think you've really given the class a charge for how they can kind of technical. It's been a day. It's been a day. So you've really given us a charge on how we can support our communities, and I applaud the work that you all are doing in Eatonville, because we often believe that the power of the people is not strong enough to go head to head with the power of the forces that are in opposition. But watching you from afar and seeing the work that's happening and seeing the success that you have, knowing that every war is won with multiple battles, and this is just the first of many. We want to applaud you for the work that you're doing, and we'll be in the wings looking to see how we can get engaged and also support as you continue to struggle to reclaim the land and rebuild the community.
Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I will say that I noticed that I didn't see anybody's eyes drooping. Sometimes, when it's not really what it needs to be, you can't help it. You just have to doze off. So at least I didn't see that. So I guess I did pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And I'll send you a copy of the recording as soon as I have it.
Thanks. And by the way, Dr. Daniels, I'm hoping that you'll be able to bring some of these students to Eatonville in January. That's another thing, another call to action. You all can come down in January for our 35th anniversary and have a good time.
So just as a wrap up, so there were 2 calls of action. Action 1 is to donate to Preserve Eatonville, preserveeatonville.org. And as Mr. Theory said, if you get coffee, forego that coffee, at least 1 coffee a month, and you can send that. I will say, just in support of what she's talking about, the grassroots campaign is real. In Philadelphia, one of the first strip mall in Philadelphia happened by his name. I can't recall his name right now, but I can send it to you. It was a pastor who was able to get his congregation to donate, I think, like $10 a month, and they were able to pool that money by being able to demonstrate that they could bring money together. They were able to build a development. That development has been going on for 3 decades now. So let's not underestimate the value and the power of even our small little dollars. If you could put President Obama in office, it could definitely do something for you. So, and then the second charge is that in January, they have a Zora Festival. It is we had a chance to go to it a couple of years ago. It is a great experience. And anybody who's interested, let me know. I can keep you posted as it comes about, and we can see how we can get out of it. All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you.